This is One Sentence News, a daily podcast featuring 3 news stories with a sentence-long summary and 1 sentence of context apiece. I'm Colin Wright. It's Tuesday, January 4th, 2022. Happy New Year, everybody. Let's talk about the news. From Reuters, Russia, China, Britain, US, and France say no one can win nuclear war. The permanent 5 members of the United Nations Security Council, sometimes called the P5 nations, Russia, China, Britain, the US, and France, have released a joint statement saying it's impossible to win a nuclear war, and thus one should never be fought, and that nuclear weapons, as long as they continue to exist, should only serve defensive purposes. This is the sort of statement you hope to hear in moments like this, where tensions between China and much of the Western world, especially but not exclusively the United States, are particularly high, and when Russia is at odds with Ukraine, but also NATO, which includes much of Europe and the US, and consequently, the drumbeat of some kind of conflict seems to be in the air. It's notable that this statement was released in the midst of a new nuclear build-out in China, and at a moment in which more non-permanent UN Security Council states, like North Korea and India and Pakistan, have nukes, and some others, like Iran, could be on the verge of developing them. From the South China Morning Post, freeze on new video game licenses in China extends into 2022 as 14,000 gaming-related firms shut down. Chinese regulators have not released a new list of approved video games for the country since late July, making this the longest period during which no new games have been made available on the Chinese market since 2018, when a regulatory recalibration kept new games from shelves for 9 months. This new video game title, Drought, has caused about 14,000 small video game production and video game industry adjacent companies to go out of business in just the past few months, and that follows 18,000 closures in this industry across all of 2020. This dearth of new game approvals is part of a larger regulatory crackdown on many aspects of Chinese society, including new limits on how much time children are allowed to spend playing games each day by a government that has voiced its intention to reorganize things to make the Chinese economy more equitable and less wasteful and indulgent according to its standards for such things. And from the New York Times, Europe plans to say nuclear power and natural gas are green investments. This is not a done deal, but a draft proposal drawn up by the European Commission, which delineates what is considered to be a green investment and what isn't, says there's a role for natural gas and nuclear power in the transition to 100% renewable energy. This is still just a draft legal text, so there's a chance significant portions of it will be changed before it becomes a real thing. But it's worth watching who supports what, as France is and has long been pro-nuclear power, while Germany has recently shut down a few of their older nuclear power plants and seems keen to keep nuclear anything from proliferating throughout Europe. The inclusion of natural gas here is also expected to rile debate, as gas power is one of the major sources of diplomatic discontent between Germany and some of its neighbors, because it receives and serves as an intermediary for so much gas originating in Russia, which some worry may give Russia leverage over Germany. And because natural gas, though less polluting than coal, is still a fossil fuel that pollutes, and thus including it alongside things like wind and hydro and solar power, which don't produce emissions as they generate energy, could diminish the perception of the EU as a green energy powerhouse in the coming decade. If you're finding some value in One Sentence News, consider leaving a quick review wherever you get your podcasts and/or sharing the show with a friend. You can find out more about this show or subscribe to the email version at onesentencenews.com. And you can support this and other related projects, like the Let's Know Things and Brain Lenses podcasts, at understandery.com.